So I want to come on and bring my guest today, an expert in the industry, engineer David Ziskind. He runs Next Gen Ag at Black and Veatch. David, thanks for being with me today. Are you seeing, for lack of a better expression, I'll say Willy Wonka type demands? Like, okay, sure, co-manufacturing of my parents used to look like this, but we now want like this new plant that looks like this. So are you seeing these new startups that have new demands that are potentially creating food that's never been created before through precision fermentation and cultivated meat? What kind of new demands or requests are you seeing in the production of the creation of a plant?
We've really moved beyond, certainly there are still extruded products, but we've sort of moved beyond that, particularly where you're seeing the different types of fermentation, you're seeing precision fermentation, you're really seeing these different processes. And to complicate it, a lot of what's being done right now is being done in the lab. So how do we get to this to make this product, right? Well, now how do we scale it? So scaling, that process of scaling is not, it's not just multiply by X and do the same thing. A lot of the times we're looking at, is there a different, even part of the process or the way you execute the process, that makes it more cost effective, makes it easier, makes it faster, any of those items. So I agree. Part of the co-manufacturing challenge is what does that scale up really look like? And in the case of products that are still in the lab, what's different? Because you might invest in a piece of machinery or go one route and find out it doesn't work at scale. So what's next? What do you do next?
Wouldn't that just be a question of experience? Let me rephrase that. I'm surprised to hear that when one company goes to scale, they might not have all the answers for how to scale. Have I understood that correctly?
I think that's a fair statement. So I think when we're talking about scaling these technologies, so you do them at different volumes, right? In the case of fermentation, but there's no guarantee as you scale, you're having to make these little tweaks, these little changes. So you're making these jumps and you've got to, I would say, I don't like using the word always, but I'd say there's always a bit of uncertainty in there. And it's a question of how big is that uncertainty? What does it look like? What's your scaling jump? What are you jumping from in terms of capacity? And you have to have that right capacity difference to make sure you're getting your scale up experiments. You're getting to the point that really makes sense.
So if extrapolating from what you're saying, most startups then at some point, by the time they get to scale, and scaling doesn't go from 0 to 100, right? It's just like a car. So it goes from 0 to 10, 10 to 20. So this is also expensive because you're needing potentially different machinery, each scale up, and then a larger factory, larger capacity. So it's, potentially 2 steps up, 1 step back, because you think you've got it all right, but you don't have it all right. 1 step back, and then hopefully 3 steps up, and you go from there.